easier to loot national resources, because clearly $2.8 billion worth of suspicious transactions, and government is quiet. If government could get excited over 15 houses in Ibexio and one house belonging to a former minister, a few buildings here and there, a farm somewhere in the village, if they could get excited with those, the question that I keep asking, why is government not excited over these transactions, like $2.8 billion, 5.8 billion kwacha, 13.5 billion kwacha, and 64 billion kwacha?
Welcome to Zambia Today Television, your trusted source for news and analysis. And today, we dive into a story sparking outrage and debate across the nation. Mporokoso Member of Parliament Brian Mundubile has launched a blistering attack on the UPND government, accusing it of turning a blind eye to massive financial irregularities flagged by the Financial Intelligence Center. According to Mundubile, suspicious transactions totaling $2.8 billion, $5.8 billion, $13.5 billion, and $64 billion have been identified but remain unaddressed by the government.
There is a report that talked about suspicious transactions amounting to 5.8 billion kwacha. Another one talked about suspicious transactions amounting to 13.5 billion kwacha. And the other one talked about suspicious transactions amounting to 64 billion kwacha. Now, remember that all these suspicious transactions have happened in the past 3 years that the UPND has been in power. This is the UPND, the same UPND government, when they were in opposition. Last report under the PF, I think there were suspicious transactions amounting to 2 billion kwacha. They went to town, including President Hakainde Hichilema. They called us thieves, they called us criminals, because the FIC report reported suspicious transactions worth 2 billion kwacha. Now, if you look at the amounts that I've highlighted in the reports just in the past 3 years, it's evident that clearly we have a wrong government in power. It's here to loot national resources, because clearly $2.8 billion worth of suspicious transactions, and government is quiet. If government could get excited over 15 houses in Ibexio and one house belonging to a former minister, a few buildings here and there, a farm somewhere in the village, if they could get excited with those, the question that I keep asking, why is government not excited over these transactions, like $2.8 billion, 5.8 billion kwacha, 13.5 billion kwacha, and 64 billion kwacha? Why isn't government not excited?
Mundubile didn't stop there. He raised serious concerns about what he described as a lack of urgency in tackling corruption, questioning why the Anti-Corruption Commission remains without a substantive Director General or board.
Could this be the reason why we still do not have a board at SCC? Is this the reason why we don't have a substantive the DG at SCC? Could this be the reason? Because clearly, if there was so much excitement over 2 billion kwacha and a few buildings, there should have been more excitement in these figures that have been reported by the FIC under the charge of President Hakainde Hichilema.
The MP challenged the government, asking if the inaction is due to negligence or something more deliberate, calling for Zambians to demand answers.
I also want to remind the Zambian people, in addition to the list that Mr. Honorable Kafoya has, we will pursue the corruption at Ministry of Health. especially the transaction that involved $100 million. We know that SCC is sitting with letters that were authored by ministers to contractors in that particular transaction. We want to follow up on those matters. We also want to follow up on the matters that under Ministry of Agriculture that involve the purchase of fertilizers. Fertilizers worth $30 million were purchased for over $50 million, within the country. We also want to follow up, to make a follow-up on the concessions that were given to mining houses. You remember we have said that corruption will not only involve the giving or receiving of bribes, but it looks at putting private interest over and above public interest. And this may come in form of legislation, policy, and administration.
His remarks come amid growing public scrutiny over the UPND government's commitment to clean governance, a cornerstone of their campaign promises. Critics say the government's failure to act on these FIC revelations undermines its credibility in the fight against corruption. Many Zambians are asking, why hasn't there been decisive action on these staggering figures? Mundubile is calling on civil society and ordinary citizens to speak out and demand accountability, emphasizing that the fight against corruption should not be left to politicians alone.
Now look at what has happened under the UPND. So if you wanted to know what a corrupt government looks like, ask who's Masholi, who are criminals, ask us. We may just give you an idea of who these people may be. So all these things that we're talking about have happened just in the past 3 years.
As the country approaches the 2026 general elections, this issue is likely to dominate political discourse, putting immense pressure on the UPND government to explain its handling or mishandling of these financial irregularities. What's your take on this, Zambia? Do you believe the government is deliberately ignoring these issues, or is it a case of poor governance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for tuning in to Zambia Today Television. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on stories that shape our nation.
Why are you consulting as if you don't know what your duty is? You bring a good person here and you want us to commission of that, you don't know what your duty is. Who are you consulting?
Sir, Cabinet invites him as President.
Invites him because me as
the Republic of Zambia
invites me as President. I voted him the water.
How are you going to start changing issues?
They invited me.
Besides, what role are you using?
You ask Cabinet.
Because you know your duty, you know your duty, you know your duty. Who are you consulting? Oh, no. This is...
Please don't bring this drama. To be honest, don't bring this drama.